Elizabeth Kolbert, Under a White Sky, The Nature of the Future. In Under a White Sky, The Nature of the Future, Elizabeth Kolbert delves into the complex relationship between human intervention and nature, and the impending consequences. The book explores the delicate balance of ecosystems and the continuous cycle of altering, controlling, and correcting the environment. By investigating various instances in which humans have attempted to combat the entwined problems of climate change, invasive species, and ecological disruption, the book highlights the challenges faced by humanity. In this summary, you will join Kolbert on her journey through a rapidly disappearing Louisiana, Chicago's waste management, and Australia's cane toad invasion, all while engaging with innovative and thought-provoking solutions.
Louisiana's disappearing coastline. Plaquemines Parish and Louisiana's coastline are shrinking at an alarming rate due to the extensive levee system installed to prevent flooding. Before human intervention, the Mississippi River carried sediment that deposited along the surrounding plain, creating the Louisiana coastline. However, with the installation of levees, sediment deposition has slowed down, and the existing soil is becoming more compact over time, resulting in land shrinkage. Although sediment dredging projects are ongoing, they aren't fast enough to keep up with the rate of land loss. Hence, the Mississippi's Coastal Protection and Restoration Authority proposed a bold solution to punch massive holes through the levees, allowing the river to deposit sediment naturally and re-establish the sediment deposition process. The environmental consequences of Chicago's Sanitary and Ship Canal. The Sanitary and Ship Canal was built in the early 1900s to combat the human waste and pollution problems in Chicago's drinking water source, Lake Michigan. However, diverting the Chicago River caused ecological issues that persist today. The canal connects Lake Michigan with multiple rivers, making it easy for invasive species like the Asian carp to enter and disrupt fragile ecosystems. To prevent this, electric barriers have been installed in the canal, but they are not fail-safe. To create a demand for carp, an idea for Carp Fest was proposed. However, the author raises doubts about this as a solution, emphasizing the message that tinkering with nature can have long-lasting consequences. Gene editing could restore ecosystem balance. In the mid-1800s, the cane toad species was introduced to the Caribbean to counter beetle grubs that destroyed sugarcane plants. Later on, they were brought to Australia where they became a disaster for the native species due to their toxicity. However, scientists have proposed genetically modifying the cane toads using CRISPR technology. A scientist named Mark Tizard worked with Caitlin Cooper to remove the gene that codes for bufatoxin hydrolase, a toxic enzyme released by cane toads. Although the methods for using detoxified toads are still uncertain, scientists suggest using it as a training device for other animals. Gene editing may feel uncomfortable for some, but it involves altering small pieces of DNA and restoring balance to ecosystems already modified by invasive species. The precarious fate of the devil's hole pupfish. The devil's hole pupfish, a rare and unique species found only in one location in California, is on the verge of extinction. Developers' land buying and water pumping in the 1950s and 60s greatly reduced the size of the pupfish's habitat, causing their numbers to dwindle. Today, biologists make special efforts to ensure the survival of this species, conducting a pupfish census 4 times a year and delivering supplemental meals to the devil's hole. Additionally, a fake refuge tank a mile away from the real cavern was created to mimic the environment without harming the fish. The key message is that the survival of species like the pupfish depends on human intervention. As a society, we cannot afford to remain indifferent to the plight of conservation-reliant animals who can only survive with our help. Saving coral reefs through genetic modification. The devastating effects of the 1980s on Caribbean coral reefs led to half of them disappearing due to development, overfishing, pollution, and coral bleaching events. Additionally, climate change has substantially contributed to the destruction and possible extinction of the world's coral reefs. Ruth Gates, a passionate marine biologist, came up with the idea of selective breeding to enhance corals' genetic advantages after bleaching events. This process would enact a kind of assisted evolution, resulting in supercorals. Scientists are testing her idea by cross-breeding corals and exposing them to high levels of stress. The offspring will be the parents that can repopulate the world's coral reefs. It is our only option, either to let the corals die or help them evolve more rapidly by breeding supercorals. However, even if supercorals could be bred, climate change still requires addressing in full to save the world's coral reefs from extinction. Carbon removal, a necessity against global warming. For the past 10,000 years, Earth has enjoyed a pocket of stable climate. However, human activity has affected this, and emissions have only grown stronger. The result is an increase in CO2 levels, contributing to global warming. Carbon removal is a possible solution to extract CO2 from the atmosphere and create negative emissions. One way to do this is by using rocks to mineralize the CO2 and store it underground. This process could take hundreds of thousands of years, but we need a solution now to combat the deadly consequences of high CO2 levels, such as longer droughts, fiercer storms, and devastating heat waves. The key message is that carbon removal may be necessary to address global warming effectively, as reducing emissions may no longer be sufficient. Solar geoengineering, pros and cons. The eruption of Mount Tambora in 1815 resulted in millions of deaths, cold temperatures, failed harvests, and famine. Could it teach us how to address climate change? Solar geoengineering involves adding particles to the atmosphere to cool the planet and address climate change symptoms. However, it doesn't address carbon emissions, can cause dependence on particle payloads, and may lead to unforeseen consequences such as strange sky colors. Despite its drawbacks, scientists consider it inevitable.
Through Under a White Sky, Kolbert sheds light on humanity's constant quest for solutions to complex environmental problems. These include attempting to mitigate climate change through carbon removal and solar geoengineering, gene editing applications for ecological restoration, and preserving endangered species like the pupfish. As we venture further into these endeavors, the book serves as a vital reminder of the overarching impact human intervention has on nature and the world around us. Ultimately, Kolbert challenges us to evaluate the delicate balance between nature and humanity, calling for a deeper understanding of the consequences and the necessity to adapt before reaching the point of no return.